allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And then I need approval of the agenda or amendment.
So move.
Is there a second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. So all in favor. Approval of the minutes of June 20th, 2024. Have you all had
I
a
move
chance to
that
read?
we approve the minute.
Is there a second to that? Any discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Nay, if it not approved? No nay, so all in favor. Board of Adjustments.
Work petitions today. First was Tim and Peggy Mormon, garage addition down in Dresbach. We had 6 separate variances to make that happen. And we did approve that. We had a septic for Betty Ann Walker down in the same area, Dakota, Dresbach. Another septic for Timothy and Lisa Whitehead in Dresbach or Dakota. And then the last one was in the Twin Bluffs area, Mark and Jan Irwin. The variance for a setback from the road for a detached garage. And we did approve all of those.
Thank you. Marcia.
The county board approved all petitions that came before us at the last meeting with no questions or concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. And that brings us to our petitions. We have docket number PC 07-22-24-01. It's to consider petition of co-applicants Hemphill LLC, Lisi and Gerald and Joan Zink, property owners who are seeking a conditional interim use permit for the following: to allow a new wireless communication facility, including a 258-foot tall guide tower in pursuit to Chapter 10.4.66 of the Winona County zoning ordinance. And who has this one?
That would be me. Good evening.
Okay.
A little bit of the site overview that they are proposing. It is up in Nodine in New Hartford Township, Section 9. Access would be through an existing driveway that serves the commercial business that the Zenkis own. You can see an overview there. It's off of County Road 12. So a site plan that staff created, you can see it there on the left image. The red outline would be the proposed approximate leased area. The business is to the south there. The property boundary is the light blue line. And then the contours are shown there in that kind of transparent yellow. And then a little bit of a farther view would be the right map that was sent out as with the notice. You can see the proposed access there from County Road 12 leading up to the proposed lease site area. So some of these next slides are site plans that the petitioners submitted. You can see there, again, coming off of Highway 12 through that existing driveway and then up to the proposed tower. And then again, on the left, that'd be the access with the tower within the parcel boundaries. And then the right would be the tower itself, looking to the 250 foot to the top. And then there's an 8-foot lightning rod proposed. So some of the site considerations, it would be a leased area of the Zenkis property. The access is through the existing driveway, as I mentioned. It would be 258 feet tall at the top. It'd be approximately 76 feet from the base to the closest property line, and approximately 522 feet from the closest neighbor, and I can show you that. It would be the Frick House. If you go down in the bottom left of that image, that would be the closest neighbor. The Zenkis do live to the south of the tower as well. So they did talk to the Fricks and they did not have any objections to the project. One of the submittals with the application was also a fall letter indicating that if the tower were to fall, it would be contained within a 50-foot radius under normal conditions. So some of the overview when I was out on the site, this is looking east down County Road 12 from the existing access, and then looking west the other way down County Road 12. Looking north up the existing access through that gated area that serves the business there. This would be the proposed leased area. So looking to the southeast, you can see in the aerial, I have the approximate leased area outlined in red. Looking to the southeast, and then the large image on the right shows the staked area that they are proposing. This would be the tower base, looking directly south towards the business. So the township did submit their acknowledgement form. They signed it on June 13th. They indicated that they have no comments regarding the request. So our recommendation should be to consider all materials and testimony before making findings that support your decision. Our analysis and draft findings do support granting the petition as a conditional use permit. And if you should decide to approve the petition, we have drafted 11 conditions for your consideration. With that, the petitioner as well as the property owner are both here tonight. If you have no questions for me, there's a lot of information. So if you have anything for any of us, feel free to let us know. Yeah.
Last time we listened to something similar to this, how far are we from the school this time?
Ooh, I can pull up the map here.
They said 1,000.
We don't need any more chaos, but we're far enough away that we don't have no.
It's far. I would,
Okay.
It's at least 1,900 feet.
Okay.
You know, it's- The location itself shifted 2,295 feet to the northeast.
Okay. Well, you know what I'm getting
You
at.
look, Louis, you look out the front door, you'll probably still see it.
I can show you where the school is.
Well, you know, they said-
It's a small community.
Anybody else, any questions of Olivia? Thank you.
Thanks.
Petitioners, come on up and say what you want to do and.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You are in your address.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Planning Commission. Ralph Weingarten from Falk and Foster, 1428 Trailside Court Northwest, Grand Rapids, Michigan, 49504. Here on behalf of Hemp Hill LLC, and then Jerry Zinke is with me tonight as well. Thanks, Olivia, for covering that pretty well. I don't have a whole lot to add. Just touch on that it's behind the Zinke's culvert storage yard, so it's kind of in a, I don't want to say industrial, but kind of in a setting that's maybe more appropriate than the previous location in some opinions. And again, you saw the aerial view with the measurements. The Zinke's house is really the closest house, but it's their property. And then the neighbors, the Fricks, they talk with as well. We don't feel it will have a impact on any neighbor in this location. What we're proposing is a 250-foot tower with an 8-foot lightning rod. Verizon antennas will be located at a 245-foot center line, but then it's also designed to accommodate up to 3 additional providers like AT&T, T-Mobile. And usually we find when Verizon goes in or one of the others go in, just to stay competitive and not lose any of their subscribers, the other providers often follow suit. On the ground is a 60 by 60 foot fenced compound. And then again, as was indicated, the structural engineer indicated in their letter that in the rare event of failure, it would collapse within a 50-foot radius. So that would be contained within that red box there. Would not go across any property line. We think it's an appropriate location, given that it's off the road quite a ways, tucked in behind the culvert business and storage yard. We did review the staff report and look at their recommended findings of fact and recommended conditions, and we're in agreement with those. So we'd respectfully request that you recommend approval of this project to the Board of Commissioners. Happy to answer. We did provide like a more detailed project description and response to the different criteria, and I can go into that more in depth if you have questions, but I'll leave it there for now and just respectfully request your consideration of this item. Thank you.
Go ahead, Louis.
I got one comment. It's not so much a question. When these people complain about all the electromagnetic radiation, you might want to draw a radius out to what the radiation really is to the power, using that 1/r² power relationship. Just to be a tidbit to be helpful to you.
Yeah, it's actually very weak in the case
I know
of cell
what you're
towers.
talking Yeah.
Other commissioners, any questions for
I have a list.
Marcia?
Yes, you can answer. You're leasing the property,
That's correct.
and conditional use permits go with the land.
Yes.
So do you sell towers? Do you
No.
sell cell towers to other providers in your business plan?
No, Hemp Hill retains ownership and operates it, and then they encourage co-location by other providers. So Verizon is their first, and then they hope to get other providers on the tower as well.
Okay, how long is your lease for?
I believe it's 90, up to 90 years. It's 5-year renewable terms. So there's an initial 5 years and then a chance to renew.
Okay, we've dealt with solar operations and solar's decrease. So your intensity of having to have more towers in my neighborhood, how long before this tower is obsolete? It's not tall enough. It doesn't have the capacity that you're looking for.
We
What's
don't
the life
anticipate,
cycle?
yeah, we don't anticipate it being obsolete, hence the long lease date. And we think it will be a single solution for all future needs in the Nodine area.
Okay, what is the plan and the needs? And where is your information in here as to what the plans for build out in Winona County and what the needs in Winona County are? Do you have information? I didn't see it. in
We
here.
did provide radio frequency maps from Verizon with and without the site.
What's your plan? Because isn't that an industry plan? Or isn't that industry standard?
Each
Hemp Hill's
Each provider has their own needs. Hemp Hill's plan is always to operate the site and market to all of the existing wireless providers, but they also have other uses hosted like emergency services antenna, or if there were other local uses or future Internet of Things or, whatever types of things come along, they're open to any type of use of the tower. They don't restrict it.
We won't be running the orange tube cable up the tower to put the fiber optic in there, like I currently have in my front yard.
Yeah.
So you don't have, right now, Hemp Hill doesn't really have any build-out plans for Winona County. Do you have plans for other parts in
No,
Winona County?
no, they don't.
And why not? There's spots that have no coverage, so why not?
Because
You're really trying to
it's-
aggressively serve the.
it's
and again,
driven
you're-
by the provider because they have a partnership with Verizon. So when Verizon comes to them and says, we have a need in a particular location, Verizon's model lately has not been sink their own money into a build in terms of capital expenditures. They'd rather keep their money for other upgrades and plans. And so they say to someone like Hemp Hill, which is a build-to-suit company, can you take on the capital expenditure to build this location where we want a tower, and then we'll lease space and go on it and pay you over time. And that keeps us from spending all the money to build the site. We can use our money. And so where there's a need for Verizon or if we work with other carriers too, when we locate a site that meets their needs. And then we also do an analysis as to what we think, if it's a location that the providers will need too. Yeah. And so Hemp Hill's plan is really tied to a specific need from a wireless provider as an anchor tenant, plus the likelihood of other future needs from the other providers.
As the anchor tenant, they will take the premier spot on this.
That's
tower.
right.
And then do you work yourself down and do other providers find it adequate to
Yes,
put
yes.
their stuff on there?
yep,
Amazing.
yep.
Okay.
And you
So
do
you're-
see that in other towers. You see multiple platforms.
So
on it.
this comment in your conclusion on page 60, the project will provide essential wireless infrastructure in Nodine to the benefit of public health.
Yep,
And I'm not sure how a tower gives me public health, safety and
Yep.
general welfare.
yep. And a lot of that
What a
is,
broad, bold statement.
Yeah.
Is that your statement or is that Verizon's statement?
oh, that's my statement.
Your statement?
But it's also, it relates to if you're having a heart attack and you call in an emergency, your tractor tips over in the ditch, you call. You just check on your family members, you respond to a fire, an accident. And then if AT&T goes on, AT&T themselves, which is not committed to this at this point, has a first responder priority network called FirstNet, where they jump emergency calls ahead of all other usage.
I'm well aware of it.
Yeah, okay. So that's where I make the health statements, is both in terms of personal health and in terms of emergency calls, because most 911 calls come from wireless devices nowadays. That's how it contributes to the public health and safety.
Sure. And I would hope, and I haven't asked them, I would hope the state of Minnesota's tower just down the road has that capability because they're in charge of 911. Private industry isn't in charge of 911. The government is. Are there going to be any warning signs around the exterior fencing and everything? There are multiple warning signs on the state of Minnesota tower at the Nodine Highway Shop. Will there be any?
There won't be any advertising, but there will be any required signs in terms of identifying who the owner is, the FCC registration of the occupant like Verizon, and just warnings of, not to enter the facility.
Okay. So the only difference from the application you had a couple months ago is location.
Yeah, that's essentially right. It's the same height, same design, meets the same need. The difference is that it's shifted to this location on the opposite.
Location. And now you're
side
trying
of
to,
town.
and you are trying to sell me on the idea that multiple users never came up, I don't think, in the previous conversation. So now you're open to multiple users.
Yeah,
You are
it's-
open to multiple.
Yeah, it's on the drawings, yep.
Okay, all right. Let's see, does Verizon have any build-out plans for Winona County?
I'm sure they do. They just share with us on a case-by-case basis where their needs are, but I'm sure they have
They haven't
future
indicated
plans.
to you any other needs? in
No, they
Winona
haven't
County?
indicated any other needs at
That's
this time.
unfortunate because there are many areas that have absolutely
Yeah.
no coverage.
I'm sure they have plans, and if they want to bring us in to help with them, I'm sure we'd be interested.
Decommissioning plan. It does say if it's not used, I think a year, there's no thing. So, and I know on it's similar but different solar applications, we do ask for a bond for decommissioning. Do you have any kind of decommissioning plan?
It calls for that in the conditions, and we'll provide that. What we generally do is remove all of the above-ground structure and then grind the foundation down to below ground level, and so you won't see anything different than what you see now.
Okay, but 99 years from now, you or I won't be standing there and having this discussion.
But it'll be a plan on file with the county that we've committed to. That's required in the conditions if you pass the
Well,
conditions that were recommended.
So, I apologize. Was there a decommission plan specifically?
Yeah, there was.
I don't remember reading.
Let me find it.
I'm looking at page 24, recommendations. Is there 25? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I
Yep.
guess I didn't read the next page. Okay, there is a big deconstruction plan, but there is no bond or anything associated with this. And so in the past, we have put dollar amounts to assure that it's done, and that may be something that the committee wants to recommend. Are you willing to put a bond tied to a decommissioning plan
Yeah, if a bond is required, we can do that.
or cash? Cash and we accrue the interest over 99 years?
Probably would be done with the bond, yeah.
All right. Okay, I think that was my list for now. Thank you.
Sure.
What's the structural material of the tower?
It would be steel.
Okay, so even if there were no decommissioning plan, all that steel would be worth something in 100 years from now or 50 years or tomorrow.
Yeah, it's very recyclable, yeah.
But the labor to take it down maybe more than the value of a material. But yes, it does. have value.
Any other questions from any other?
How much, I presume the space is gonna be of concrete.
Yeah.
How much concrete does it take to build the base?
That, not being an engineer, I'm not sure. I know that often they go down quite deep. There's a base for the tower itself and then for each of the guy wires.
Yeah, I can understand that,
Yeah, but I don't know how many like cubic feet of concrete they would use.
but I was just told that for one of these wind turbines, there's 10 cement trucks of concrete in each base. Now, they wouldn't need that.
Probably less for this since it's a guide because the wind turbine's just a single pole, so they have to have like a bigger, deeper base on it. And I believe those are taller. I don't know what the height is, but there's more. I think more wind resistance
Quite a
with it.
load.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Marcia?
I missed one on my list. Thank you.
All right, go ahead.
You refer to in-building coverage.
Yes.
Now, I had a call, today I called Mr. Zenke. I have a iPhone
Uh-huh.
issued by the Winona County that has a Verizon plan. I have never lost a call sitting in my house, interior room, on that. Now, if I do leave my house and go down to the River Valley, I know I will lose calls. So what type of building materials or whatever, because you specifically reference in-building coverage.
Yeah.
What's limiting on building coverage? What restricts, what kind of building?
Really, there's a lot of things that can restrict signal. The thicker your construction, like masonry or brick, the more it restricts signal. If you have pine trees around your house, so those pine needles have a lot of water in them, those will restrict signal. In this case, being right at the edge of town, we'll be able to penetrate that even if you have brick, masonry, like the town hall building, if you're in the basement of that heavier built structure, if you're a place with a lot of trees around, it's not going to affect the signal because we're close enough into town to handle that. But we're also high enough to penetrate down into some of the valleys quite a ways down the road as well. So as 12 goes downhill towards the Mississippi or the other direction towards New Hartford on 5, we can do, penetrate a decent distance down the way.
Towers up here and the signal goes out.
Yeah, it's kind of a line of sight.
It will
Type
drop down into a valley? A signal
It
will
will
drop down into a valley?
It won't curve, but it will, at a higher height, it will see what it can see direct line of sight to.
Okay, so I have pine.
If you're like
trees.
around a corner,
Pine trees and I have an old farmhouse and everything again, but I've never lost signal.
Right.
So it amazes me that,
and you're on Verizon Wireless, you're not on a Wi-Fi version or your local.
whatever,
Yeah, and that may differ for people, but there's definitely been complaints, and Verizon is eager to pursue this location. So they usually don't spend the money on it if everyone's got adequate signal.
any benefit to somebody in the immediate area switching to Verizon? Is there a cost benefit to the individual consumer? No, you don't know.
Yeah, those are individual consumer decisions.
I mean, okay.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Yep, thank you.
Jerry, do you want to say anything?
Oh, well, at the, I think it was the county board meeting, actually. I said a few things. I actually had gone and tested the output of,
Just got,
pardon?
look,
Name and
just
address.
say your name and.
Oh, I'm sorry.
address.
That's okay.
Gerald Zenke, 42846 County Road 12, Dakota, Minnesota,
Thank you.
55925. I gave some information on the output of these towers as far as radiation because of the school situation on the other location. And I guess nobody believed me, so I don't think I have anything else to add to that. Thank you.
No. I entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
I so move.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second that.
Jordan seconds it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Hearing none, our public hearing is open. Anybody wishing to speak for or against this petition, please come to the mic state your name, address, and whether you're for or against it. Yeah, second time. Anybody speaking for or against this petition? Come forward and state your name and address and state your position.
We got some online.
I have a dog online and a cat.
Like Charlie Myers on.
And you can be online, but just listening.
Right. Does anybody online want to make a comment? Both mics are shut off.
Yeah, do we need to unmute them or something?
Well, I see one of our commissioners and different people are listening.
No action.
Right, not hearing anything for the third time. Anybody wishing to speak for or against this petition, please come to the mic, state your name, address, and why you're for or against it. Hearing nothing after the third time, Eugene,
I move that we close the public hearing.
is there somebody who will second that? Louis seconds it. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Hearing none, all in favor. Now, open to discussion. What do you guys want to do?
I've got another question. So there's reference on page 58 to the MnDOT tower, which I'm, very well aware of. And it's saying, that out of the, not only is it well out of the search area. And I'm looking at these two maps that have the green and the green and the yellow and the orange. I can't believe, I guess I'm questioning the maps. So the green is high probability. And even with the MnDOT tower, on the maps provided, it's still only yellow, which is good probability, not high probability. So do these towers conflict with each other, or does one override the other tower?
I
mean, I
can't
think the
answer
MnDOT,
that, but we'll ask you.
yeah, the MnDOT tower, I can't remember how tall it is. It's pretty tall. So in this,
They operate at different frequencies, so there's no conflict with them. If Verizon were to locate on the MnDOT, that's 1.4 miles north, and the issue, as explained in detail in the project description, is that would shift the whole area of coverage to the north, and we need it focused in on Nodine primarily, where the residential area is, not focused on the exit where there is the quick stop, but there's not a lot of residential around there. And shifting that whole green blob that far north basically isn't what Verizon wants in their system. It's not serving the target that they're looking at. It's instead putting a lot of signal to the north of the highway. So that's the reasoning behind the maps. And that's why they gave us the search area focused right in tightly on the Nodine community itself.
I just can't consume the thought that Nodine is such a hotbed of need.
Really stocked in online.
So how many people drive Interstate 90?
But that's out of his area.
That's south. of
He's saying that doesn't, it's out of his search area. I-90 isn't in your search area.
Is that correct?
I mean, if it's 1.4, I mean, the MnDOT one's right on I-90.
But they're different uses.
Signal will be provided in the area of I-90, but it's not in the search area. The search area is targeted on Nodine, but the signal will go far enough north to reach I-90. But that's the very northern part of where they want to put the signal from this location. They don't want that to be the middle of their strongest signal. And another of the issues too is in terms of there's 3 sectors on the site, and they like the sectors to kind of each do their own job with a different area. And so being right by Nodine, you can have one sector going down 5 to the southwest, one sector going down 12, and one sector going north on 12 towards the interstate, and they're each handling different amounts of traffic. Whereas if you put it up at the interstate, you've got probably 1 or maybe 1.5 sectors doing all that work in the Nodine area rather than dividing it up.
Any other comments?
Well, I'd make a motion to approve with the facts and findings.
Okay, does Louis made the motion of the facts and finding to approve.
I'll second it.
And Eugene seconds it. Any other discussion before you vote? Martha?
Unfortunately, I have still bigger, other than the site, bigger questions of these providers and where we're going with cell coverage in Winona County and some other factors that are within our realm of, but that's. at the
But
county
is
board
that
level.
pertinent to this petition?
Yes, and some things are very pertinent to this position, and I haven't gotten the total answers yet, so I will not support it tonight.
And that's fine. That's why there's all the rest of us.
Right.
All right. Any other comments before I call a vote? All in favor of the petition as presented, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Marcia, are you
Nay.
abstaining?
Nay. I'm saying nay at this point.
Is anybody abstaining? I don't want to miss anybody. Okay, so we got a nay and the rest are ayes. So your next hearing is August 13th at 9 a.m. County Board meeting. That's a primary too. I didn't know you guys had official meetings on.
It's just a
Yeah,
primary.
okay.
We've met on election day though, too. Yeah, that it doesn't restrict us.
Okay, well, I just mentioned it. We try to avoid it in the township.
Yeah.
It's going to interfere with business
That's right.
and your voting. So 9 o'clock, August 13th, 9
No,
o'clock.
yeah, 9.
AM, 9 a.m.
Okay, 9 a.m., yeah.
And that'll be here, and it'll be with the county commissioner at their regular meeting on Tuesday. Okay, any other business? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second? All in favor, say aye to adjourn.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Sounds like we're adjourned. Thank you.